Pivotal is an understatement for both of these teams. The Cardinals, people are looking at like you said, why are they so fascinating? Why are they 5-4? And then you look at the Jets, and I picked the Jets to win the AFC East to start the season. It seemed like, to me, and I've not been an Aaron Rodgers fan for the entirety of his career. You can respect and appreciate greatness while not liking the other stuff. I still choose him to win one game over Josh Allen in a vacuum. I think that there's just some je ne sais quoi about him that we're starting to slowly see. It's been a slow burn for you. It's been more fun for me. Like that second half against Houston, I'm like, oh, if that happens 80% of the time the rest of the year, they're making the playoffs. So pass to victory, John. Give me your 3, how they beat the Cardinals at State Farm Stadium on Sunday.
Well, great segue. Number one, they have to protect Aaron Rodgers. And the reason I say that is the Jets have been a little banged up on the interior of their offensive line. Their two guards to end that game were actually backup tackles. Olu Fashanu, the first-round pick out of Penn State, and Max Mitchell, a fourth-round pick from a few years ago, because they've suffered so many injuries at the guard position. Can Rodgers play the way he did the second half against Houston 80% of the year? I think a lot of it comes down to, can they protect him? Because this is not the guy in Green Bay who was super mobile. In Green Bay, I think he was great at breaking the pocket, moving left and right. To me, that's one of the things that set him apart from mere mortal quarterbacks. He's 40 years old. He's coming off an Achilles injury. He's been dealing with a couple other lower body injuries that have further hindered his mobility. What he can do is he can read the defense. He can get the ball where it needs to go. So if you protect him, good things can happen. If you can't protect him, he can't really create the way he used to outside of a play structure. So that's number one. It's maybe an obvious one. I mean, I think every game you could say the key is protect the quarterback, but given how banged up the Jets are on the offensive line, given Rodgers' current limitations, I think that's critical. Number two, kind of alluded to it earlier, the big guys on defense have to play like big guys. Quinnen Williams has started to rise to the occasion. I think the last 3 weeks, he started to look like Quinnen Williams. So he got off to a slow start the first 5 weeks or so. And every week on my post-game show, Alex, I'd be saying, he's going to be fine. Quinnen Williams got a big reputation. Finally, we got to a point where I said, I'm a little worried about Quinnen. And I don't know, maybe he was tuning into Locked On Jets then, because that's when he started to produce. That's when he started to look like his old self. Sauce Gardner's been struggling. And it's time for Sauce Gardner to step up. Jets have a lot of talent on this defense, as we alluded to. There have been moments where they've looked as talented as they are, but there have been moments where they've underachieved this year. It's time. You keep saying it, Alex. 10 weeks, we're week 10. When's it going to happen for these guys? When are these guys going to start looking like big time players? And number three, something I alluded to earlier, Jet special teams. And it's funny. This team has missed the playoffs 14 straight years. They have not had a winning season since 2015. But if you look through the stats, through most of those, not all, but most of the seasons, they've had really good special teams. It's not been this far the fault of the special teams. This year, they've had issues. Greg Zuerlein is on IR. Whole conspiracy theory in the Jets fan base, Alex, was he really injured because he's having an awful year? You could say that his missed kicks contributed to at least 3 losses this year. They stuck him on IR. People are like, well, did they just not want to cut him? Like, is he really hurt? I think he's really hurt. And I think part of the reason I think he's really hurt is that kicker mechanics are so precise that one little thing, an injury can throw off your mechanics entirely and cause you to miss kicks. Thomas Morstead, the punter's not having a great season. Xavier Gipson, their primary return guys, he's broken a couple of returns recent weeks, but hasn't had a lot of big time returns. They've made some penalties on special teams. They made some mistakes. They've got to clean up the special teams. And I think going on the road against the Cardinals team that's been a bit of an enigma, but still a quality football team. You got to win the third phase of the game. I think that for me, that's always critical. I talk about it a lot on Locked On Jets, how critical special teams are, how underrated special teams are. Jets are in this position right now at 3-6. It's not entirely because of special teams. It's not the number one reason, but it's played a role.
Yeah, and the Cardinals are 5-4 because of special teams. Otherwise, we'd have a very different conversation with them, most likely at 2-7. So, that's an interesting segue back. It's how you do the little things is how you do everything, and the little things is special teams. It just seems like that's a thing. It's good teams, great teams don't worry about special teams ever. It's the Matthew Slater effect in New England. It was just there. It's a constant. And that's something that, the Cardinals have done well. It's a week by week thing, 2 young kickers and punters, but so far so good for the Cardinals. Now, pass to victory for the Cardinals. The first one, and you're going to witness the first time I say this, because this has been not a point of contention because it's been a positive, but a point of anomaly, I guess you could say. Don't focus so much on how the Cardinals offense is being run as long as it's being run effectively. Like the Cardinals have won by running the ball like they did last week, over 200 yards. And they won the week before by Kyler Murray throwing for over 300 yards. Taking what the defense gives to you and exposing that and hammering that exposure over and over and over again is how the Cardinals are going to win games, because they can do it in myriad ways. If you stop the run, they've got enough playmakers on the outside to make things happen. If you want to keep Kyler Murray in the pocket, he'll find ways to kill you in there. Or if you want to flush him out of the pocket, he's very comfortable throwing on the run. But just letting the defense tell you how to beat them, that's how the Cardinals offense needs to operate. And they did it last week against Chicago, and then pivoting towards an even better defense this week, that's what they're going to have to do. Now, number two, obviously get after Aaron Rodgers. This pass rush has been non-existent. I've called them popsicle figures at times because they've been on milk cartons, and then they had 6 sacks last week. So it's really as much production as you can get out of the pass rush, you'll take. The difference this past week was the exotic blitz packages that we saw, whether it be Mac Wilson from the linebacker position, Budda Baker from the safety position. Like, they need to continue to mix it up and keep Aaron Rodgers guessing, because Aaron Rodgers needs 0.2 seconds to get the ball out. So they need to get there in 0.1 seconds, or he's going to be eating if he's going to be having a tea party in the backfield. Aaron Rodgers terrifies me because he needs very little time to get the ball out, whether it's a wide receiver screen or what have you, or to get the ball to the running backs out of the backfield. That terrifies me more than most things. What terrifies me the most is the big play for New York. Now, we haven't seen it as much as you'd expect. More was from Breece Hall, who doesn't get in the end zone, which is weird. I don't know. It's a weird, like, Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert thing where they refuse to get Breece Hall in the end zone, but the Dallas Goedert, Braylon Allen part of this gets in the end zone all the time. The big play is what will kill this Cardinals defense, because they're not equipped to play from behind. And that's something that Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams, and Tyler Conklin, for crying out loud, they have so many options who could spring a big play. That's what terrifies me the absolute most about this going into Sunday. The Cardinals need to stop the big play from happening.